Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Transformers review, and I realize I have a lot of Transformers that are in box, and it's not that I bought them at full price when they were new and just left them in a closet to collect dust. I don't do that. It's more so that I've gotten really fortunate that a lot of the secondhand stores lately, I have found ones that have been either opened and put back in their box or were traded in box and were resold at very, very low prices. And a good example of this that I want to show off today is Titans Return Astrotrain, and this, of course, is a Voyager from the Titans Return line. I have a lot of kits from the Titans Return line and the Combiner Wars line as well that I'm very excited to talk about, including some of the other Voyagers, which were all triple changers. I've got the Optimus Prime and the Megatron from that line, which are hit or miss, and there's some good qualities about them and some bad that people seem to not like very much. And I also have the Galvatron, which also was cool for the time, and I was really excited about it because I did not have a Galvatron toy at all. And now the Kingdom/Legacy one is out, which really kind of puts that one to shame, unfortunately. But it was cool for its time to have a G1-esque style Galvatron that was a triple changer and a headmaster. And I wanted to get just some quick footage here of Astrotrain in his box. And he has been opened, but I've actually taken the figure out and played with him a little bit. But as you can see, the weapons and everything are still tied down in there. So we're going to be opening this guy for good. I think I only paid like $15 for this guy at the secondhand store. They priced him very, very low. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm not really sure if the consensus is that this Astrotrain is better or worse than the Siege one. Is that the line that he was in? Where that one recently just got repurposed into Legacy Galaxy Shuttle from Victory, which is another kit I would, if I were to have that mold, the updated leader class Astrotrain, I would want the Galaxy Shuttle version, but this one looks really appealing to me. I like the look of his robot mode. I just don't know if I'm going to like the two different alt modes. I think the train one is probably going to be the weakest if I had to guess off the top of my head right now, but we're going to find out. I haven't, at the time of this, like I said, I've only taken him out and played with him a little bit, but this is all going to be new to me, so I'm going to go ahead and play around with him a little bit and let you guys know what I think. Alright, so here we have Astrotrain in his train mode, which I figured would be the place to start, although it was a little bit counterintuitive to his transformation when I actually got my hands on it and started playing around with it. And this is probably the worst mode of the three, but not by a lot. It does have some cool things going on with it. And the way his transformation works is really cool because you can easily pivot from his robot mode to either the train or the shuttle, but it's not very intuitive to go from the shuttle to the train. There's a little bit more pieces that have to move around for that reason. And most triple changers do have one mode that struggles, and compared to the other Titans Return Voyagers, I think this one may actually be overall my favorite. With the Megatron and the Prime, I almost never use their jet modes. I almost always put Megatron in the tank mode, almost always put Prime in the truck tanker mode. And with the Galvatron, I almost always put him in the cannon mode, maybe I like the jet mode okay with that one, but the Galvatron modes have some opportunities for sure. Stylistically, this is a very, very different train than what we had with the G1 Astrotrain or with the Classics one before it. With the G1 version, it was very much like a steam locomotive, and then with the Classics one, it was very much like a bullet train style one. And the Classics one was really cool because of how it would pivot from a NASA style shuttle to a bullet train style train, and aesthetically both of those modes looked really good, even though that Astrotrain was a deluxe. Whereas this one, it goes for a very Cybertronian shuttle mode, and the train mode is very much this, Super Juggernaut Railcan and Gustav Max looking train mode that looks like some kind of battleship. And it does have, I guess, some train details, which are not very distinct or molded in. Like here at the front, you have this whole section right here is somewhat train-like. A lot of the details could use some paint to really make them pop a lot more. The front right here looks a little bit like a freight train. And then with the plow at the front there, again, not a lot of paint to really make those details pop. This section right here, then of course you have the wheels right here, which again, it looks okay, but proportionally it looks laughably small compared to the rest of the mode. And then you have the cannons up here that are on his arm that feature prominently in all three modes, and I think they look excellent here in this train mode. And again, it does have this very battleship train look, again, like some of the, I don't know if it was World War I or World War II German like train mounted cannon type of things, which certain pieces of fiction like Valkyria Chronicles trying to emulate with, giant cannons or artillery things, howitzers that are mounted onto trains or use train tracks as their means of transportation. So it's an interesting look. Not sure that I really, really like it compared to, I think it's the Siege one that later becomes the Galaxy Shuttle, which does have, that one's a leader class toy, and it does have a train mode that is, a freight train style, steam engine style look that's not a, bullet train or this weird battleship looking thing. But it's okay. The transformation is a little bit strange, and it does kind of look like he's doing the splits if you look right here, but if you look at it from the front or from the side, it does look okay, and his robot mode guns do look pretty good on the side here, but definitely the weakest mode of the three, but I do like the other two a lot more. Alright, so here we have Astrotrain in his shuttle mode, and this one's quite a bit nicer, although it does have some problems. I do like the color distribution. I like the grays and the blacks, and all the purple goes together very well. Once again, the cannons are nice and prominent on the sides there, although it is a little bit more obvious that they're just his arms tucked away at this point. Nothing really too distinct about the robot mode sticking out aside from his chest up there, and the rear landing gear kind of full out of his chest. There's a front landing gear up here at the front. They don't have wheels, so he doesn't really roll in this mode. But everything looks nice and flush. I like the look of it. I like the amount of molded in detail up here. It looks really nice. The wings are very distinct Astrotrain look from his G1 form, and they look very, very good in this mode and in robot mode. These two little wings up here do articulate as well, so if you prefer to have them out like that and give it a little bit of a different look, you can always go for that. And then, of course, the Headmaster Companion, or whatever they're called in Titan's Return, Titan Master, I think is what they're called, he actually does store away up here. So mostly all of the vehicle modes for Titan's Return had to have a way for the little Titan Master to integrate with it, which did result in some wonky engineering in some cases, but it works very, very well with this guy, where the cockpit is prominent in both the shuttle mode and the train mode, and it closes nice and neat, and it's not in the way or anything. It doesn't get in the way of the engineering of the robot mode. But I guess I will go ahead and take that out for when we have to do the transformation to robot mode, and just kind of set it down right there. So, of course, we have the little Titan Master, who I think is called Dark Moon, I believe, in this. So, Dark of the Moon joke here. He has a very Optimus Prime-esque head to him as well, which is interesting. Not sure even all these years later how I feel about the little Titan Masters. They're a fun little gimmick. And some weird design quirks were done as a result of that, such as, the weapons, which we saw where they clipped onto the side there, and they actually clip into the exact same spots here on the wings for the shuttle mode as well, if you want to put those weapons on there and give it a more armed look. And there always has to be one gun that also has a seat for the Titan Master. So almost all of these guys have a weapon that allows for integration with the Titan Master, which again can make for some wonky designs where it's like, hey, he's got a gun with a random chair in it, which seems kind of silly for a handheld gun, but it helps for that, Target Master style implementation of, the Titan Master's got to be able to sit in the weapon. So I guess with that out of the way, let's move on to the robot mode. All right, and last but not least, we have Astrotrain in his robot mode. And I really like this mode a lot. I think he looks fantastic. All of his proportions are great. And there's not a whole lot of kibble or anything hanging off of him. I mean, obviously, you do have the large backpack there where the cockpit for the Titan Master goes. But if you actually look at this individual piece, this backpack piece,
there's not really a whole lot to it. It's only this section right here between my two fingers and then the wings, and the wings are an essential part of Astrotrain. Also, it can unpeg from the back and swivel on this joint right here, which is necessary for the transformation into train mode. And so it actually moves kind of dynamically with his ability to pose, which is not the greatest thing in the world. His pose ability is a little bit limited, but he feels nice and sturdy. A lot of his joints are very tight. The shoulders are very tight. The elbows are pretty tight as well. The hips I have a little bit of a problem with, as I can kind of demonstrate here. And so there's a little bit of looseness, as you can see right there, but it doesn't really get in the way if we try to do anything really dynamic. He's got some ratchets going on there. He doesn't have ankle pivots or anything like that because of the way his feet work. His feet, yeah, no rotation there. His feet do rotate forward and back because that's required for the transformation. This part of the foot is facing out during the shuttle mode, and then it flips in on itself, and this part is facing forward for the train mode. But it means he has a nice large flat foot that's not too goofy looking, and overall it looks pretty good. But as you can see, we can get him in some decent poses here. I love when we have characters that have multiple weapons, where they give them a lot of weapons with their toys. I just think it adds a lot to it. But yeah, you can get the backpack pose in a lot of dynamic positions like that, and it has a sort of pseudo jetpack look to it. I like that quite a bit. And of course, you can change the angle. You can change the angle of these things back here as well if you want it to. And you can even fold it completely back like this and just kind of tuck it away, pin it back in so it's completely concealed if that is the preferred look you like to go with. But yeah, I just think that looks awesome. His range of articulation with his heels being that way may be a little bit limited, but his arms are fantastic. The way that his shoulders go up into the shoulder pauldrons up here for his transformation allows for a great range of motion there. The only thing that he really, really lacks that's a big problem is absolutely no waist swivel whatsoever because of the robot mode, because his hips have to detach right here from his crotch in order to do the transformation into train mode, which if those were any more loose and liked to come apart, that would be a huge detriment to the structural integrity of this robot mode. But as it stands right now, they're totally fine on mine. All the joints are reasonably pretty tight, and he likes to generally stand pretty well. The only thing that I think is kind of lame about the Titans Return figures in general that I'm sure a lot of people don't like, and it's something that across the entire line you're just going to have to deal with, is the fact that the heads, while they do have a nice sculpt to them, this one in particular has pretty badly painted eyes, but I think the overall paint job and the sculpting of his head is pretty nice. But they all look really huge at the back because you have the little Titan Master's legs folded away. And then the rotation you're getting of the head is the rotation of the Titan Master's head itself pushed down into the peg there. And so you run the risk of just making the Titan Master head very loose as a result of it being the thing that holds up the entire weight of the head inside the neck cavity there, and is the point at which the entire thing rotates, which can be a little bit lame. It has one other gimmick, which is similarly seen on the Voyager Titans Return Optimus Prime, and there's a little switch right here that when you transform him, you can pull that out, and he gets these little fin things that pop up out on the side. Those like to pop up automatically when you put the Titan Master in on the Prime, and they look really cool. I like them quite a bit. And truth be told, they don't really look that bad here either, but they do limit the range of motion of his head. So I think specifically with Astrotrain, I like to just keep them down and have his head still have its range of motion to it. But overall, I think this is probably my favorite Voyager of that Titans Return line that I own so far. The Galvatron probably being the least favorite in hindsight. It really presents this awkward question of what to do about Blitzwing, because the Megatron was retooled as Blitzwing, and I've always wanted a good Blitzwing. I think, ironically, the best Blitzwing may very well be the animated one, because a lot of people don't like the Thrilling 30 one. They have a lot of complaints with that one. And then we have the new Legacy one, which is a pretty tiny leader class and has a very chunky plane mode. But I do want to pick up that leader class Legacy Blitzwing at some point. and that might be my go-to Blitzwing, but I didn't want to pick up the Titans Return one because it's just a retooling of the Megatron, and I have a lot of problems with the Megatron, as I'm sure we'll do a review on soon. I also have the Siege Megatron still in box from another pickup similar to this at my local store, where I got him, clearanced out for cheap, and I have my special little loyalty coupon thing and got him for a really good price while still in box. So that's another upcoming review. There's quite a few upcoming Transformers reviews of ones that are still in box, not because I just whale bought on a bunch of figures and left them in the closet for several years. That's not what I do. This is legitimately like good deals that I've found, and like I said, I think at the beginning of the video, I'm not trying to flex by saying, oh, look at all these rare sealed figures I have. It's just me cherishing the last few moments of keeping them sealed before I inevitably open them to enjoy them, and that's part of the making of the video in general. I wanted to give a character overview of Astrotrain like I do primarily with the Zoids videos. I like to give a really thorough character bio of the Zoid itself before we get into the toy and the history of the different iterations. But I really didn't feel like I was qualified to do that here because we know pretty well Astrotrain's involvement in G1 and how he, ferries around the Decepticons and has a fairly laid-back pacifist attitude compared to the rest of the Decepticons. And how in the movie he was bogged down by all of the heavily wounded Decepticons after the Battle of Autobot City, causing Starscream to eject several of the wounded ones, including Megatron, out of the ship, which resulted in, of course, the creation of Galvatron, Scourge, and the Sweeps. But I wanted to talk about his character in the actual Titans Return comics because we're doing the Titans Return version, and I unfortunately have not read those. So maybe we'll do a follow-up one day where I talk about Astrotrain's role in the Titans Return comics, if he even has a significant role in them, and then I'll be able to speak a little more confidently on it. But going forward, I really do want to do more character bios in these videos, even if it just is a small portion of the video. And there's just so much Transformers continuity out there, it's difficult to know where to focus on, especially if you have a character who has been reiterated upon so many times in so many different continuities. Where do you start and where do you end? But I think that's going to about do it for this video. Like I said, I like this guy quite a bit, and if you can get him for cheap secondhand like I did, then I think you're in good shape there, but I would definitely make sure that his joints are nice and tight and that he's in good condition. If his hips are really loose, I would probably pass on him, or if the connection there between his hips and his crotch that keeps his legs together is loose and likes to break apart on its own, I would definitely pass, because that is a pivotal piece in the overall quality of this guy. But yeah, this has been my look at Titans Return Astrotrain, and I like him quite a bit. And if you guys like this type of content, I will be doing a lot more of it, as well as the usual Zoids reviews, and I will see you guys next time.